Welcome back, Omnibuds. My name's Kevin. What if the Cold War actually turned into World War III? Nuclear bombs flew and changed the world forever, and England receded into a fascist state. Of course, I'm talking about V for Vendetta. I can't wait to. What was that? I think someone's at the door. 1 second.
I am the viceroy of verisimilitude of you vox populi. Ideas are bulletproof. Remember the 5th of November. For England prevails, my friends. England prevails.
Welcome, Omnibuds. Welcome to another book review. We've got a special guest today, and when I say special, I absolutely mean it. We've got Lloyd from Cupcakes Comics Review.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
So, thanks for doing this with me. I know we talked about this for a while, but we read V for Vendetta. What, a week ago, maybe?
A week ago, yeah, 100%.
So a little backstory. Watchmen is one of my favorite things of all time. I've read it probably 7 or 8 times. I read it like every other year almost.
Mhm.
And I knew that eventually I would read V for Vendetta because it's Alan Moore, it's historic, but I was scared to read this. And tell me if you had the same feeling, because I've thumbed through it at the bookstore, and it looked really wordy. The art was really scratchy, and I was like, ooh, I don't know if I'll like this. And if I don't like an Alan Moore book, what does that say about me? So I was really nervous to read this. And then I started the first issue, and that just disappeared.
So my introduction to this particular book is basically the movie, because the Wachowski brothers directed it, right? So the Wachowskis were like big names at back then. They did The Matrix, and this was their like next movie. And Hugo Weaving was in it, like he was Agent Smith. And I'm like, this is all sorts of cool. I did not know who Alan Moore was at that time, right? So I was not an avid comic book reader. I did read a lot of stuff, but then when I realized that it's based on a graphic novel, that's when I discovered like what DC Vertigo is, right? Because and then I saw Watchmen, and then I just like went into the rabbit hole and never stopped, right? But again, I had the same feelings about the book. Like the two books, Alan. So there's another book by Alan Moore called From Hell, which is kind of similar, right? It's about medical detection and whatnot. And I'm like, is it something for me? But I saw the movie and I was blown away. I haven't read that. I probably should read that next. But even this, I kept on like, it was there on the book burner. I was like, I will read it at some point. I'll read it at some point. Never got the chance. Watched the movies a couple of times. But finally, and the same thing as you, like the artwork is very weird. It's like sluggish and all of this whites and so much verbosity in it. So many words. Will I like it or not? Finally dived in and I loved it.
I had the same, and I think we're spoiling the end of it. We both loved this book. I'm reading it. It's timely, right? It's about a government that has gone through something that scared them into fascism, right? So it's crazy that it's 30 years. I think it's 30 years old, because I got the 30th anniversary deluxe edition, which is gorgeous with this foil cover. You can kind of see it shimmering.
Yeah.
Is that DC's compact?
So I had the trade paperback back home, but I wanted to reread it in like a hardcover format, like at least something like paperback or something. This is my first DC compact edition. I also wanted to try this format and see if I can read something and it's conducive to read in such a format. And I picked it up. I think it's pretty good, man. It's a tankoban size, like one of those manga kind of things. And you can flip through it. I took it to work and all. Very easy, very convenient. And even you mentioned that it's the 30th anniversary of the book. It's the 20th anniversary of the movie, I think, this year.
Wow, that's crazy.
So, yeah. Can you believe it? It's 20 years old, this movie.
So you're roughly as old as I am, I think, because we talk every day.
Exactly.
And with the compact edition, did you have to use like a magnifying glass?
Not too bad. So I'll be honest, I flipped between my my app, so my Hoopla app, which had the thing on my iPad, which is a much bigger screen, and this. So I
Nice.
flipped a little bit between the two, but I think this is comfortable enough to read. I think if you're going on like a journey, like I know you take a lot of work trips and stuff, so carrying this is so easy.
Yeah.
Just grab it and you can just read it on a plane or something. Again, long term reading, like if you're reading something like which is super thick, like an omnibus or something, I wouldn't recommend. But smaller stories like Kingdom Come, like this, like Superman Red Sun, those are like a breeze. So not too bad, not too shabby. So I enjoyed it, and I recommend the
So
format too.
let's get into it. So real quick, this came out. So it's a Vertigo title, but it was actually never published originally under Vertigo. Like a
Right.
lot of classic, what we think is Vertigo. Like Transmetropolitan started off as what was that one? That was a different imprint, and then eventually
Wildstorm. It's the
Wildstorm. Yeah.
Wildstorm. Yeah, yeah.
So this was, I did a little research, and I'm cheating because I've got it up on my screen here because I have a terrible memory, which everyone who watches my videos know. He started writing this in 1982. So it's one of his early works,
Indeed.
Alan Moore. And it was originally published, I think the first 4 or 5 issues in a magazine called Warrior.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
And that's all I know about Warrior. And then they took a break on it. So he starts writing it in 1982 into 93 and 80, not 90s, 80s.
Yeah.
And then DC picks it up and he comes back to it in the end to finish the last 3 or 4, 5. I think it was 5 and 5.
Okay.
So the last 5. And what's interesting is as you read it, you don't know that. Like you can't tell that there's a pause. The artwork by David Lloyd is, I think, beautiful, but you don't really notice that there's like a 4-year gap in this. His artwork's the same. The storytelling picks right up. I just thought that was interesting.
When you look at like these covers, the covers first, they give you like that magazine format. Like in the 80s, everybody was going more adult and more graphic and more gratuitous violence and nudity and whatnot, and exploring all these concepts. So Marvel did a lot of Savage Sword of Conan. They put a lot of their Marvel heroes in that Marvel magazine format. I think DC was doing the same thing. So when I look at this, it doesn't, it's not exactly a comic book, but it's a graphic novel, if you know my meaning, right? So it's more reads like a graphic novel too. So
it does.
Yeah.
And those covers, and I'll show off some later. I think they're all painted. I think David Lloyd painted all those covers, and they're
must have taken him a long time, right? I guess.
Oh, it must have.
Yeah, yeah, because it's so detailed. So when you read like modern comics, some of the panels you feel like they're like, okay, this guy didn't have time and he just like shoehorned it in. Every panel in this has been amazing, so detailed and so intricate. Like completely floored me.
My only critique of this book is, and I think they could fix it if they really wanted to, the word bubbles are not outlined in black like they are in traditional comics. It's just a white bubble. And the way he does his painting and the coloring, sometimes it's hard to tell where a word bubble's pointed. Did you have that same experience?
I had the same thing. So it's a little
who
bit.
Who the hell is saying this thing?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make sense. So it's a little bit, but I think it's a product of the 80s. So they were still trying to figure out like how to do comic books proper. I think letterers, that's why letterers are so important these days.
Yeah.
People forget like, okay, what's a letterer? Where I can just write everything. No, the word bubbles are important. There is a guy who arranges all of these into that specified standard format of word bubble. So, letters are important. But I think they did have a letterer though. I looking at the credits now. But I doubt that. I'm sure they had a letterer somewhere because it's all Alan Moore and David Lloyd. They don't specify specifically like who did the colors and the letters I think the covers were also David Lloyd. So it's basically sounds like they both like just got together and just created like everything.
Yeah. I wonder if David Lloyd did the lettering. So here's the cover, and that's issue 1.
Absolutely beautiful.
And it's gorgeous. And like you said, it has that magazine kind of look to it. It's painted. Just absolutely phenomenal. This is, we should say, kids, if you're watching, This book is suggested for mature readers.
Yeah.
So the premise of this story, it takes place in England. And I got to take my dust checker off because it's doing weird things to me. And it takes place after the Cold War. So similar to Watchmen, it's kind of like an alternate history, right? What if something else had happened? And essentially, the Cold War in this story turns into essentially a nuclear apocalypse, right? And it doesn't talk in depth about what
Doesn't give you
happens.
specifics. Doesn't give you
It
the
doesn't, right?
specifics. Yeah,
I think they talk about the country of Africa is essentially no longer there.
absolutely gone.
And weird that they chose to bomb Africa for some reason. They don't talk a lot about United States. They do, I mean, they do a little bit, but you don't really understand what's happening there in this post-World War III world. It's really isolated to the island of England. And then I failed geometry. What's attached to England? Is it Ireland? There's some Irish
Yeah.
folks in here.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of where this story lives, right? And because of this global catastrophe, World War III, nuclear annihilation, it has scared the government into fascism.
Correct.
And so that's the world we live in, is this fascist London world. And we'll get into talking about, I really liked the different government agencies, and it was, the finger, the
The
nose,
nose, the eyes. Yeah.
the eyes, and what they specifically did. I thought that was really cool how he wrote that.
Absolutely. So I think just to add to what you said, so again, so they don't explain everything, which is something I like because it gives me something to imagine, right? So, so then figure out like, okay, America probably must have been bombed. Africa is gone now. So why is this the totalitarian society? Because that's the only way forward, right? Everything was destroyed. Government was in turmoil. The only way to control everything was to have some sort of fascism, right? Because probably democracy was dead at this point, right? We don't know what went down. So the only person who was in power, he kind of got everybody together and formed this government and all, and people just complied, right? And compliance is such a big part of it, of this book, like, and Alan Moore also talks about one thing, which is like, even if you're just following the rules, you're not free, right? You're not liberated as you think you are, because then you're part of the system. And those kind of concepts are like really, really like enticing for someone like me, because I eat them up. Like I gobble them up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's fascinating to read that.
So so this fascist government, and it takes place in, I think, 1997 roughly is when it starts, and I think it takes place over like a 2-year period.
Yeah, yeah.
And it has some flashback moments, or they speak to like the early actions of this government. And the first thing they do is they round up all the black people, and then they round up all the gay people, and not good things. They're sent to concentration camps, or they're kicked out of the country. And there's cameras everywhere watching every single thing that everyone does, which in 1983 is a really kind of interesting concept, right? Because we have that now, right? There's cameras on every corner of every road.
Absolutely. But even in like 1984, there was that book, right? 1984, George Orwell, was it?
Yeah.
Like, about the totalitarian society and stuff. So I think he takes like, I don't know which came before. I don't know if the Vendetta came before or that book came before, but they're kind of like same concepts. Like you're in a society where everybody's big brother is watching you and you're trying to survive and just go by your daily life, right? Daily routine. So yeah, I found that fascinating.
One of my other favorite, so the way he paints this picture of fascism, through the actions of the government and how the government responds to certain things, but also the man, what's the word? I should have had a coffee. The posters and stuff.
So there's a lot of propaganda. All
propaganda. Thank you.
There you go. So,
I'm looking at one of them right now, and you see it multiple times throughout the story.
Yeah.
And you see it in the movie too, and it says, "Strength through purity, purity through faith."
Through that. So yeah. So there's a lot of imagery thrown around, like this whole totalitarian society. They believe in that England prevails cause, That's like
England
their,
prevails.
yeah, that's their motto. Like, no matter what happens, England should prevail, and
Yeah.
our society must endure and survive.
Yeah.
And we will do anything and everything to protect it, to control it, because it is our society. So
That first issue sucks you in. So it starts off with and all the media is of course state-run media, and it starts off with this radio host who's the mouth of the government, right? And
absolutely,
his job is propaganda. And in the first couple pages, he closes off. England prevails is kind of like their Hail Hitler or Hail Hydra, like how they sign off or how they salute.
absolutely.
England prevails. England prevails. But he says in like the first couple pages of the book, he's in this radio broadcast, he says, and as a reminder, it's the population's duty to make England or make Britain great again, which I thought that first issue really sucked me in. You know exactly the world that you're in and what you're going to expect throughout this book.
Oh, 100%. So, they suck you in, they give you like the context of it. They give you like it's you. So I think they start with Evie, the Evie Hammond character, and like she's going through the night. There's a curfew. So after like 10, you can't go out into the streets and stuff.
Yep.
But she still goes because she has some motivation. She needs to make some money. And
Yep.
then you also see that not everybody is rich in this society because it is a totalitarian society. So the government controls all the money. So people are hungry. They need food. They're looking for shelter. Some people don't even have like homes to go to, right? So, and then there is this whole control of this whole government enforced Nazism or fascism.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the setting. And that's you, as you rightly said.
So we start off, like you said, with the character Evie. She's, out on the streets looking to earn money the way a poor woman out at night would. And she kind of propositions herself, and it turns out to be for officers, law officers. And they threaten her with assault, throwing her in jail. She's scared. She just needs money. And our first introduction to V is he shows up to save the day. And he, classic kind of superhero or vigilante, Batman or Daredevil shows up in this outfit, beats the crap out of these officers and saves Evie's life.
Absolutely. And I think they don't focus too much on the violence, like,
Yeah.
him beating up people or blood popping out or something. It's shown, but I think the movie does it more better, where you can see the action and the choreography and everything. This one, it's all dark, right? So he's there, he shows up like Batman, and then yes, there is some fisticuffs, but it's the violence is not the focus of it. The focus of it is like he rescues her, and he's this enigmatic character you don't know nothing about, just pops out of nowhere, like you said, like Batman, basically. And yeah, that was, and that's the introduction to the character. But throughout the book, he's very enigmatic. You don't know nothing about him. And like, does he like coffee? Does he like tea? We don't know. We know some of his preferences, but keeping the whole character like enigmatic from start to end, that was genius too, right? Because
we never see his face.
you never see his face. So
and I don't want to give away too much. I know it's a 30-year-old book, but I don't like giving away too many spoilers because I think the point of this is to maybe hopefully get some people to go buy this and read this.
absolutely.
But yeah, so he brings Evie back to his lair, and what did he call his lair?
The shadow something, shadow cave,
shadow room or something like that.
shadow room or shadow cave. Yeah.
And to your point, he's very enigmatic. He's got things that are probably outlawed
Shadow
in this
gallery.
fascist state. Shadow gallery. Yeah.
Shadow.
And he's got music, he's got records, he's got movies, film, things that are probably outlawed or not available to the lowest in this society.
I think we should have mentioned that in this totalitarian society, again, it's government controlled media. So you
Yep.
can just go buy a DVD of whatever you want and watch it, because that's also banned. You can't subscribe to any art magazine or anything. That's not government sanctioned. So it's kind of very restrictive. So,
Yeah.
and he has all these like great pieces of art. He's got like albums and he's got like vinyls and whatnot in his shadow gallery. It's like the Batcave, essentially.
It's very Batcave.
It's very Batcave.
So in that first issue, he saves Evie's life, and then he shows her what his plan is. Right? He blows up Parliament. He explodes Parliament, and it's seen as the government and it is an attack on the government. So they freak out. There's some other things that V does, and throughout this book, this fascist government, which they have a name. What was their name? The Norse. We should have done some more research on this. I'm gonna search it real quick. It's Norse Fire is like the party name, like Republican, Democrat, whatever the hell you guys have in Canada. The party's name is Norse Fire.
Right.
And throughout this book, they're after this terrorist known only to them as V. And V initially is going after specific people. He goes after the mouth, the radio host is his first person that he brings. And I thought it was really cool that he does not kill this person. He drives them insane. And then he returns them to their government. And it was kind of showing them what he's capable of and what he's about to do to them.
Absolutely.
Because he does kill people in this book quite often.
But that's not his moral center. It's not about him murdering everybody like who's there on like a list or something. That's very like, like Green Arrow or something. But for V, it's more like, I want to pass on the message. And the message is the important thing, right? So I'm trying to set out to do a certain goal. And I don't need to like just murder everybody who doesn't deserve to be killed, right? There are people who definitely deserve my brand of justice. And then they definitely get that death sentence, but not everybody, right? So, like you said, for this guy, like the mouthpiece guy, he just drives him insane, and then and he shocks him so badly that he's not able to construct sentences anymore. So he loses himself. So
so the next few people he goes after, and again, I don't want to give it all away, but he goes after some very specific people. And this fascist government, you'd assume a fascist government's not very effective or efficient, but they do. The leader of the Finger, I think, which is essentially their FBI, kind of figures out he's going after specific people, and he ties the people to this place, this essentially a concentration camp from early in the post World War III landscape. And they're doing some kind of scientific test. I don't think they ever really say what they're doing to people. But we learn that V is stuck in room 5, right? So the letter V, the number 5 is very important throughout this. In fact, I like when he goes on tangents later he's very poetic in the way he speaks, and he'll layer like 13 V words in one sentence or in one message.
And also the letter 5 is the Roman numeral 5. So that sounds like a V. That's why, he's from that room 5. And he quotes a lot of Shakespeare, and he seems like a learned person, like a literate person who's been doing a lot of like anthropology studies, a lot of like historic research, a lot of geographic research. So he's a well-versed guy, and he knows a lot about explosives. He knows a lot about chemistry. And so all in all, he's basically Batman. So
pretty much Batman. Yeah. So he's going after specific people, and they're able to tie these people to this concentration camp at a certain point in time. And so they quickly learn that V was this person from room 5, but they don't really know where he is because the records were destroyed. You mentioned that he's very good at chemistry, and I think he was growing a garden or something, which was I think he was growing like illegal flowers or something.
Right.
And so he, throughout this period in this concentration camp, says, I need this fertilizer for this. I need this for this, because he's doing something for the camp. And it turns out that he is actually just making a big bomb, and he blows it all up.
Absolutely.
So again, he's initially going after specific people that had done something to him. And we don't know exactly what was done to him in this camp. And we never learn why he was in this camp. Do you have any feelings on the matter? Why do you think he was there?
So, so for my first guess was, as you mentioned, because they were capturing, who were they capturing, right? They were capturing like either Black people or gay people or people from other cultures and stuff. Right? So he could be somewhere amongst those. From the movie, because I have the movie in my head. So I think he's probably a gay person, right?
Yep.
That's my first thing that came to my mind. Yep. And at the same time, they were like, so the whole concept of the book is, so this guy was mistreated by the government. He's put in this concentration camp, right? And he comes out for revenge. So that's the whole tapestry without giving the more about the spoilers or anything. I think we should. So and that's the essentially, and he takes up this girl Evie. He rescues her, and she kind of like turns into the Robin character, right? So he brings her to the Batcave, and he treats her kindly. And this girl's never been treated with respect. She's got like the shittiest life possible. Her family dies, and she's hungry. She's what? She's 16 years old or something.
Think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I think she's pretty young, on the younger side. So and then he basically, teaches her the ways of good, like of liberty and justice and freedom, right? So there's part that and part of the what's happening in the government, right? And there's so many characters, interesting characters from the government side, from the evil organization side of things. Also,
Yeah.
there's like a leader who's like a supreme leader, and he's got all these minions, and the story also focuses about their lives and all. So
Yeah.
all in all, like it like if I have to like dwell down the themes is anarchy versus fascism. I guess
Yeah.
that's the major theme of it. Then freedom of choice, that's another thing. Security versus like liberty, that's another thing. And yeah, what is justifiable violence, right? So when is violence right? When is violence wrong? And so it deals with all these metaphysical concepts, and that's what makes the story interesting, right? And how does we deal with this whole thing? In the end, what happens? Like when we started the book and we ended the book, like there's a complete paradigm shift, and how does he manage to do that, right? That's essentially what the book is about.
When you said something interesting, right? His V's perspective is that it's anarchy or fascism, right? And how he talks, I kind of get the feeling that to him, anarchy is freedom, and anarchy doesn't necessarily mean like an anarchist state where things are crazy and there's chaos. Anarchy is do whatever you want, and that really is what freedom is.
Absolutely. So it's like a brutal state-controlled society, which is your fascism. And the only way to sort of dismantle it is by chaos. But
Yeah.
it's organized chaos, which is where your anarchy comes into picture.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's a Batman character called Anarchy, like literally called Anarchy. He has a hat similar to V's hat, which is basically this. So and so he was kind of like the V character was reminiscent of that Anarchy character from Batman. But Anarchy is like complete anarchist, like it's just blow shit up and light things on fire and all. V is a little bit more controlled chaos, I feel, like how he distinguishes from that Anarchy character is that he knows what he's getting to and he knows how to achieve it. Like, so he's got that Batman prep time, I would say. We keep on coming back to Batman because he's so reminiscent of Batman, basically, but more organized, right? More directed, more precise.
So my free version of Zoom gave me the 9-minute warning. So as I read this, I saw a lot of parallels to Watchmen, which he started writing, after this. Did you see a lot of parallels to Watchmen, the story?
Watchmen was more like a deconstruction of superheroes.
Yeah.
This I felt is more like individual and how an individual can make a difference in society,
Yeah.
right? So again, Watchmen was for more a collective book for me, but this was more like like again, Watchmen is the Justice League. This is Batman.
Yeah.
Easiest way to put it, right?
And you nailed it. I think what I saw was the way Alan Moore thinks of government, right? You've got this total fascist state in England, and then in Watchmen, it's this, very conservative, power hungry, war hungry government, and they were kind of through lines in both stories, like what kind of government are we living under? And obviously, if you know Alan Moore, and I know you do, he's got very specific thoughts on governments and in the way the world works.
Absolutely. So I guess like look, I grew up in England in the 80s. So I kind of know where they're coming from. So you had Margaret Thatcher, who was the prime minister then, and she was an Iron Lady. So the society there was somewhat similar to what V for Vendetta is in those days, right? So yeah, so it was a tough time. So I know where he's coming from, where like his thoughts were in that day, in that time, in that period. Same with Warren Ellis and all these other English authors. like Grant Morrison and all, they're very anti-regime and anti-totalitarianism and whatnot. So, so that's why you get like all Transmetropolitan, you get Watchmen, you get V for Vendetta, all kind of sort of like knowing at the same themes, which
Yeah.
is like anarchy bad, fascism bad, and
Yeah.
you got to dismantle it. And
Yeah.
yeah, and if you don't raise your voice, it's not going to happen. If you just sit
Absolutely.
around, and so you got to make that change, be that change. They say that if you want to make
Be
that
the
change,
change
be
you
the
want to
change.
see in society or in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what the whole that's what the theme of this is basically. So
So the last thing I want to ask you, because like I said, as I'm reading it, I flew through it. I think I read it in 3 or 4 days.
Mhm.
And I said at the onset of this video, I said, Watchmen's one of my favorite books of all time. As I'm reading this, I think, is this better than Watchmen? It's different, right? They're different stories, but in the Alan Moore sphere, in the comic book sphere, I'm like, I'm enjoying it so much, and I'm flying through it. And like I said, I was kind of scared at this originally because I thought, oh, it looks very wordy, very deep. But Watchmen takes me a long time to get through. 12 issues. It's very wordy. There's a lot of narration. You have that, the prose in between the issues. But I flew through this. So I thought, do I like this more than Watchmen? I kind of feel like maybe I did. Do you have a thought?
I think this is a simpler story than Watchmen because Watchmen has Tales of the Black Freighter. You've got so many characters. This is like limited number of characters, so it's easier to follow through because you've got essentially V, the government characters, and EV. Right, you've got those three main things, and that's essentially your through line to the story. But in Watchmen, you've got like 7, 8, 10 people going around. So it's a little bit more. I wouldn't say convoluted, but it's a little bit more diverse. Like it
Yeah.
goes into a lot of directions.
It's
But this is more
bigger.
concise.
It's bigger in scale and scope.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I would say. So this is a little smaller in scale. My favorite thing from Alan Moore is still Swamp Thing. So it's not going to change that for sure. But
Which are we getting that omnibus? I think we're getting that omnibus.
if we get that omnibus, I'll buy an omnibus and I'll read my first ever. I'll finish an omnibus. So there you
All right.
go.
So final thoughts on V for Vendetta.
The final thoughts, like if you're somebody who believes in like justice and liberty and and you hate anarchy and fascism, I think this book will resonate with you. I think and also the theme of like an individual, because when you see now, you see our faces, you see Lohit and you see Kevin, but when I do this, you don't see a face anymore. We're all the same, right? And we're fighting for that truth, justice, and the whole thing, whole shebang, right? So I think it's from a simply from a technical perspective, it's great writing. If you like good literature, if you like good art, David Lloyd art is phenomenal, and his writing is amazing. I would give it like an 8.5 out of 10, easy, right? So it's a solid recommend for me. Again, like 17 plus. So don't give it to your kids or anything.
Nope.
Right? But but and it's a thought-provoking book and it's a serious book.
It is.
It's not like your cartoon fun or like your Superman smashing the robot or something. It's very deep. So you got to understand that and be ready for it, right?
Yeah.
So just know what you're getting into it and you'll have a good time.
Couldn't agree with you more. I don't, in my reviews, I don't rate books, but if I were to rate a book, this is between a 9 and a 9.5. I'll keep this in my collection. This isn't going to get sold. This is something I'm going to come back to, probably like Watchmen. I'll probably read it every couple of years. And I imagine, like Watchmen, it'll probably be something that you read it the 6th, 7th time, you're still gleaning new concepts or new ideas or finding hidden meanings in Alan Moore's words.
And it's relevant in 2026 too.
Yeah. Well, thank you for reading this book with me from across the invisible border we've made between the United States and Canada. And thanks for doing this review with me. Where can people find more Lloyd?
So you can find me on Cupcakes Comic Reviews. That is the YouTube channel. We also have @cup.cakes comic reviews on Instagram. We do a lot of Instagram content, and at the same time, you can find us on the Cupcakes Facebook group because we have a Facebook group similar to Omnibuds. So yeah, we do a lot of discussions, deep dives on comics and manga and clothes and whatnot. So
Perfect. Facebook group, Instagram, which I'm watching all the time, and I love your reviews specifically because our channel, we do collected editions, right? So it's usually older stuff. But you do singles. You're talking about what's coming up new, and if I didn't have you in my life, I wouldn't know what the hell's going on in comics right now.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I think yes, I do collected editions too, but I'm more of a Wednesday warrior. Discovering something that is fresh and that is new that week. And spreading the word and getting people to read comics. That's our motto at the end of the day. I think for both of us. And yeah, so
Well, how about
happy to
to close us out on three? Let's give an England prevails. 1, 2, 3.
England
England
prevails.
prevails. All right. Thanks, Omnibuds. Thanks, Cupcakes. We'll see you later.
Thanks for having us.
If you're looking for great deals on collected edition comics or manga, we recommend shopping at panelboundcomics.com. They offer free shipping on orders over $30, plus bundled discounts to help you save even more. And if you're shopping from Europe or the UK, comicsbugle.com offers free EU shipping and a rewards program for regular buyers. Don't forget to use our discount codes at checkout.